Isolated reports of severe weather along and ahead of a cold front that stretches tonight from western New York to Alabama and North Florida. Plus, a tropical storm in the Atlantic just will not go away. This is Storm Watch. I'm Dave Schwartz. It's 10 minutes before the hour. Let's have a look at all of this. First off, the tropical update, where we see our tropical storm out there in the right center of your screen. That's beginning to hook up with a frontal boundary, and that will spell the end of this as a tropical system. Over the next couple of days, this will kind of wrap up with low pressure and intensify. It'll still be a gale center, generating some tremendously high seas and some gusty winds and heavy rain, but it will no longer be included in our tropical update. And the best news about this tropical storm is that it is moving away from land, moving to the northeast now, and forecast to curve back to the north right around that intensifying area of low pressure. Winds are 60 miles an hour. Those are the coordinates on the center of the circulation, if you take note of things like that. I'm glad to say that this is moving away. Goodbye. Closer to home, there's an area of disturbed weather, or potentially disturbed weather, I should say. There is a cold front that stretches down into the Gulf of Mexico. A cold front itself is low pressure. But it takes a while for a system such as a cold front to become tropical, even though it is low pressure. But as long as it sits over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, that is possible. Now, the upper level winds are pretty strong out of the southwest here. We're expecting those to weaken somewhat. So this area, the Bay of Campeche, the southwestern Gulf, is an area where tropical development could occur between now and the weekend. So if you live along the Gulf, where we've been hit by 5 tropical systems already this year, you'll want to pay attention to the possible developments here. There's also a surface area of low pressure right here in the southwestern Caribbean, and there is the chance that if something develops here, it could drift toward the north into the Gulf. And since pressures are already low here, relatively speaking, well, something could happen. But there are a lot of ifs. One of the elements that we're going with here is history. Tropical storms have been known to develop during the first third of the month of October in this general area. You'll notice all the dots. So that's why we're keeping our close eye on this as opposed to our tropical storm. This is obviously an organized tropical system, but it is moving away from land. Westerly winds at upper levels are pretty strong, and that's shearing just about everything else. You'll notice these wispy clouds moving from west to east, but the lighter winds here in the Gulf of Mexico and the western Caribbean. And that little disturbance that moved off the coast of Africa has done nothing. There are very few showers with this thing at all. We'll monitor it, but right now we're not worried about it, not even concerned about it. We just know it's there. It's a far cry from the United States or even from the islands, and it's showing actually de-evolution right now. In the tropical Pacific, all is quiet. And that, my friend, is your tropical update. Just keep apprised of what's going on in the southern Gulf of Mexico and in the western Caribbean. That's the main story here in the tropics. Here in the United States, the main story has been a persistent storm that spun out of the Rocky Mountains this weekend, produced widespread damage and flooding through the plains up into the Great Lakes. The storm has weakened, but it's still moving slowly, so what rain is falling is causing some flooding in areas. We've already seen some street flooding in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Reports of golf ball size hail in Alabama earlier today. And yesterday, reports of injuries as a tornado touched down here in Big Rapids, Michigan. Tonight, very little severe weather. There are some strong storms moving through eastern Georgia now and into western North Carolina. TR plus is the current observation out of Asheville, North Carolina's airport. That's thunder with heavy rain, winds gusting to about 20 miles an hour. And it looks like some strong winds here, Abbeville, South Carolina, due west South Carolina, and Augusta in for some heavy rain. Now this rain continues up through Bristol, Tennessee, up toward Radford College in western Virginia, and then into western Pennsylvania, where flood watch is in effect here for the rest of tonight. Pittsburgh getting hit with some heavy rain, and we follow this rain all the way up into Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. Not raining in Boston, New York, or Philly yet, but it will tomorrow, guaranteed. Take the umbrella.
There's so much weather and so little time. That's why we love the web. Only weather.com can deliver all the information we can't possibly cover on air. Weather.com from the Weather Channel, the weather experts, on TV, on PC.
Headlights and windshield wipers are in the forecast around the Great Lakes, and the rain's moving toward the northeast. Details next on Weather Center after your local forecast.
The Land Rover Discovery, often imitated, never duplicated. The Land Rover Discovery, often imitated, never duplicated.